What's up, guys? Talk a little bit tonight about what we need to have in place to successfully grow muscle, right? That's any guy who's working out, who's hitting the gym, who's doing any type of exercise. That's usually the number one goal. Um, it's also to lose body fat, but most guys, always have on the top of their list is to build that muscle. And the problem is that we sabotage ourselves. We don't set up the right circumstances in order to be successful at it. We think that, you know, it's that gym bro mentality. I'm in the gym, I'm bench pressing, I'm squatting, I'm deadlifting, uh, and the muscle and the strength is going to come automatically just by doing that. Um, but unfortunately, that's not the way it works, right? We have to set up the right circumstances. We have to have things in place, and we sabotage ourselves. We're our own worst enemies, not only when it comes to building muscles, but to building muscle or getting in shape, but we're our own worst enemies in pretty much every aspect of life. But we'll stick to just the muscle building tonight. So, um, before you start, first of all, you have to set realistic goals for yourself. Most guys have it in their mind. We're used to looking at, and especially with social media today, you have all these clowns, with their, you know, they're taking their drugs, they're doing their TRT, whatever else they're doing. And you look at these guys, and you might be, a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", and, maybe a little overweight, and you might be 200 pounds, and you have this vision in your mind that I'm going to go to the gym and work out for a few months, and I'm going to be, 240 pounds of just like lean cut muscle, ready to walk onto a bodybuilding stage. So you have to really, um, have realistic expectations. Be happy, if you're a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", and you're walking around with, 15% body fat with a decent amount of muscle on your body, you're way, 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 way ahead of the pack. Because the fact of the matter is, and it's it's not throwing shade on anybody. I'm not, putting anybody down. But you could just walk around today anywhere, and just look at the shape of people. Not only guys, but women. Um, So for you to be above average, it really doesn't take much. But again, if you're going to put the effort in, you want to set yourself up for success and you want to have everything in place. And everything I'm going to mention tonight, you've heard before, but it's the truth, it's the basics, it's the fundamentals. And those are the things that you have to work. And it's not about being 100%. It's about doing the right things most of the time, the majority of the time. And then over time, if you're doing it the majority of the time, as time goes on and time goes quick, I can attest to that. You're going to see that you're going to be ahead of the game and you're going to be making gains without even realizing it. So, that said, one of the first things, obviously, you're putting the work in the gym. You have to feed your body the right way. But what most people will not do is put the effort into giving their body the right amount of rest that you need. Um, as a guy, we've talked about this before. It's critical. You want to maximize and keep healthy testosterone levels. If you're not getting good sleep, if you don't have good sleep patterns, you will not. You're sabotaging. You're lowering those testosterone levels. The testosterone is made while we sleep. So if you're not sleeping, if you're not resting your body in the right way, the testosterone production is going to be off. Growth hormone, our body produces that naturally. Um, if you give your body the right circumstances and you do right by your body will make more than enough testosterone, no matter how old you are. no matter how old you are. But for all of you guys, and this has been everybody's credo for the past 5 years since they locked us up like animals, but everybody says, I believe in the science. I follow the science. Well, the science says, there's plenty of science that says, if you're not sleeping, you're going to tank your testosterone levels. A week's worth of just 5 hours a night, 5 hours or less a night, is going to lower your testosterone by 15%, give or take. That's a lot. And if you do that consistently over time, you're just setting yourself up for failure when it comes to that. So sleep, very important. If you're going to stress your body with the exercise, and I find that a lot, you can get people to work out. You can get guys to push themselves and do the work in the gym. But then everything else, the other pieces of the puzzle, they just fluff off. I lifted heavy. I did my exercise. I benched this. I deadlifted that. I squatted that. I'm good. But it's like driving, when you don't set yourself up for success, it's like driving your car with that emergency brake on. You're just holding yourself back. You're sabotaging your results by doing that. Not only that, but lack of sleep, poor sleep, broken sleep, it's a stress on the body. Any type of stress on your body is going to cause a raise in your cortisol levels. Cortisol is counter-regulatory to testosterone, which means if cortisol is up, testosterone is going to be down. So everything that you do to stress your body, and the exercise is a big stress on your body, which is all the more reason why when you're done with the exercise, you want to feed your body the right way and you want to rest it, right? To let it heal and lower those cortisol. We want to keep that cortisol, the stress levels nice and low. So if you're stressing yourself with the exercise and then you're stressing yourself in your day-to-day life, it's just, you're never going to be in a state where your body can build itself optimally, right? Like I said, it's always, you're always going to be hitting the gas pedal and the brake at the same time when you're trying to make gains. So very important to, do what you can to lower. And I talk about this all the time. One of the biggest stresses in my life has always been people, and bottom line, you cut them out. You have to set yourself up for success. You don't need people in your life that are holding you back, causing you stress for no good reason. If it's your family, I know it's a lot harder. You minimize your time as much as you can. If it's friends, associates, or whatever you want to call them, if they're not helping you elevate yourself, if they're not helping you make yourself better, you don't need them, and you shouldn't be around them. However that sounds, it's a fact. It's the truth. And especially as you get older, if you don't see that, when you're younger, you don't realize it, but as you get older and you have people around you and you're surrounding yourself with people that, like they say, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you got to get out of that room. You have no business being in that room. You want to be around people that are going to help you, that you can emulate, that can teach you, that you can learn from, people that are, if you want to use the term, ahead of you, or, that you could strive to be like, that can inspire you. Those are the people you want to be with. And along those lines, you're hanging out with the wrong crowd, you're doing the right thing, alcohol. And I know this hurts a lot of people's feelings. And for years and years, and trust me, I started drinking in the schoolyards at 14 years old. And for the next, 30 years, I was, gung-ho. I thought, if you're not drinking, if you're not hanging out, if you're not part of the crowd, um, you're not having fun. You're not living your best life. But the fact is that the alcohol, um, it's going to sabotage your gains without a doubt. It absolutely will. Um, my thing used to be, and it's a sick way to think, but I would get off of work and I knew I was going to go out that night, and I know I was going to be out most of the night drinking. So I'd say, well, I'm going to work out before I go out, you know, and I'd work out for whatever, 30, 40, an hour, whatever. And then I would feel better about going out destroying myself. But again, all I was doing was sabotaging myself, because if you put that work in and then you go and booze, um, it's going to reduce that. You want that, you're trying to build muscle, right? So you want to promote muscle protein synthesis. You're going to, when you work out, you break that muscle down, and then you want the body to build it back up. But the alcohol completely negates that, or a big part of it, right? By up to whatever they say, 25, 35%. So that's another way that you're holding yourself back by, you know, and I get a lot of pushback on that. And trust me, I was one of the biggest proponents. There's no way I'm giving up drinking. How can you have a good time in life if you don't drink? Well, you can, but if you still insist and say, well, I want to have, what's the term? Moderation. And very few, I wasn't a moderate drinker. You know what I mean? I wasn't one of these, and I knew guys that would do it. They'd go out after work and they'd actually have 3 or 4 bottles of beer and then they'd go home. That didn't compute with me. So I couldn't do it, which is why eventually when I finally did give it up, it was one of the best things that I ever did. So another thing too is, a lot of, and especially you younger guys, you don't see the importance of your diet. I just talked about the rest on your body the right way. Um, but you don't feed your body the right way. You don't take the time to learn how to feed your body the right way. We starve ourselves in nutrients. You think you're gonna, and I talk about this all the time, pretty much every time I'm on here, that whole crowd, I can eat whatever I want. It's one of the most foolish statements that anybody could make. It's ridiculous to say that. You have to feed your body the right way. And when you break muscle down, the muscle is made, every tissue in your body is made of protein. So you have to give your body sufficient protein. If you think you're going to build muscle and a healthy body overall on junk food, and like I said, the booze and that, it's not going to happen. You may overcome a little bit in your youth if you have the benefit of youth on your side. I certainly did. I didn't see the damage that I was doing. It took me quite a few years until I really started to see it, but it's coming. It's going to come. So you have to learn how to feed your body the right way. You know, everybody's afraid of fat phobic. I can't. You want to center your diet around making sure you're getting the sufficient protein, and then you want healthy carbohydrates. That's the other thing. When I mention, carbohydrates, people think donuts and cookies and cake. When you talk about carbohydrates, you're talking about good vegetables, fruits, whole fruits, and it's just about and learning about how to put the right amount in your body. Because in order to build muscle, you don't want to be starving yourself of calories either. You want to be making sure that you're giving your body enough calories, and that has to be at a slight calorie surplus. So that takes learning. And another thing that I mention all the time is learning how to track your food. Right? So you have to know what are my maintenance calories, right? So you start off, and it's a guess. You'll see these calorie calculators online, and they're just a wild guess. So you have to put the time in and track the calories over time and see what your body does after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And if you're eating at a certain level of calories and your weight's a pound or two up and down, or 2 or 3 pounds up and down, that's your maintenance calories. So you have to eat for your goals. If your goal is to gain muscle, you want to give yourself a little bit more. That doesn't mean if your maintenance calories are 2,500 calories, give or take, that doesn't mean start eating 3,500 calories. You bump it up by 2, maybe 300 calories, and you track your weight over time and see what you're doing. Because again, here, our goal is to build muscle. Some fat is going to come along with that. But we want to make sure that we're feeding the body the right way with enough nutrients that's going to help us to build that muscle and minimize the fat gain. And conversely, when people are trying to lose weight, obviously you're going to be at a calorie deficit, but you don't want it to be so severe that you're also burning. And when you're going the other way, when you're losing weight, you want to be losing body fat and minimize the loss of muscle. So it takes effort, right? And there's a learning curve to it, but it can be done, and it has to be done the right way. You can't just be going willy-nilly into the gym and saying, I'm going to lift as heavy as I can. And I see this all the time. I hear guys, they're just pouring food down their throat, junk food or whatever, drinking the energy drinks, and everybody's on a bulk. Every young guy that's in the gym, trying to lift as much as they can, they're all on. I'm on a bulk. I'm on a bulk. So, and that's code word for I don't know what I mean. Well, I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to diet. So I'm just going to eat as much as I can and eat whatever I want under the guise of being on a bulk. So. Frank's here. What's up, Frank? 5 miles today. You went in a deep freezer. 32 degrees. 3 minutes. That's a good amount of time, brother. Good for you. Doing good, Frank. I hope you're doing good. Appreciate you being here. Tim Effect is here. Make sure you check out my friend Tim. $71. You want to learn about building muscle and keeping muscle? Check out my friend Tim down in Florida. He's very good at that, and you'll see that. Grind to Shine TV is here. What's up, my friend? Shout out to Arkansas. Make sure you check out Grind to Shine. He certainly does grind. This guy works. Frank, what do you on the carnivore diet? The Vince Gironda diet? Art of War is here. What's up, my brother? I appreciate you popping in. K930, Magnus here. Young Buck, I'm not too much into fitness, to be honest with you. Tim, rest work with. What do you mean, brother? What do you mean by that? Home Gym's here. What's up, brother? What's up, bro? How are you? All right, Frank. Yeah, the carnivore, we talk about the diets all the time. That's, I'm a big believer in a little bit of everything. I don't like boxing myself in. I think there's a place for these diets. Like, I've talked about this before, the carnivore, the keto, even vegan. I can't argue with people that are healthy on it. But I just find that those diets for most people are too restrictive. And then that, a lot of people can handle things like that in the short term. But after a while, it just gets to be, it just gets to be too much. Too much in the sense that, initially, I mean, I love steak, I love eggs, but day in and day out, and but I love fruit. I love, a lot of other things. Um, so I think that we can be perfectly healthy with a little. But if it again, if you're looking to fix some type of health issue, those restrictive diets, because they're basically like the ultimate elimination diet, right? So you're taking a lot of stuff out of your diet, and anybody that gets away from the standard American diet, you the the odds are near 100% that you're going to fix a lot of health issues, and it's going to change the way you feel. Um, but then I think that you should do that, and this is just my opinion, and over time start reintroducing other foods uh, into your diet just to balance things out, so it's more sustainable. You know, so the other another thing too is that, and I'm guilty of this. I'm definitely guilty of it. Is, you have to watch. I think that overtraining is a real thing in the sense that we go too much, we push ourselves too much, thinking that more is always better, and it's not the case, because again, when we exercise, when we do resistance training, we're actually damaging the body. We're actually causing tears, these micro tears in the muscles. And it is a huge stress on the body. It raises cortisol levels. So you have to give the body a chance to rest. So, there is something to be said for active recovery days, um, and giving the body a chance to cool down the nervous system. Uh, but we always, and I've been off the grid for the past 5 or 6 days. Got some, little cold going on or whatever, and I haven't worked out, and I'm going out of my mind. I don't go, normally more than a day or two without doing something. Um, but I think and I hope that, uh, over hopefully in the next couple of days when I get back into it, it'll have done me some good. I, gave my body a chance to heal. I was a little sore, you know, tweaking the elbow and the shoulder, things here, my something going on in my shoulder. But I think that the time, um, that little bit of time off, is in the end, I think it's more beneficial because you are giving your body that chance to rest. So, Layla, what's up? Respect to you. I appreciate you being here. So, Tim, I remember back in the day when I first started. Um, I always tell this story, right? There's when I first started, um, and Tim, I know you would know. You remember the old Universal, right? The old Universal gyms, those weight stack machines. We had one of those in high school, and that I was always intrigued by that. I used to go upstairs and use that. But when I couldn't wait, I used to go to a day camp, an after school camp at at a YMCA when I was a kid, and they had this weight room off the gym, and it was an old time weight room, and the guys were in there. They had those big old leather weight belts, and these guys were like big brawny guys, and they would squatting and throwing the weights on it, and I was just intrigued. I couldn't wait to get in there and get my first. So anyway, I turn 18. I go to the YMCA. I sign up. I'm ready to go. And this is the truth. The first day I walk into that gym, into the weight room, and I see all these guys in there, and I was so intimidated. I got so scared. Like I looked around, I made that face like, I'm looking for somebody in the gym, and I didn't see him, and then I just turned and walked out because I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, what if I walk in here? I don't know, I was so out of place. But anyway, I wound up going back, and there was a guy. This guy's name was Barry, and he was a big old time power lifter guy. and I struck up a conversation with him, and he got me started. What are you looking to do? And he couldn't have been nicer. And all the guys, and I actually over the years I became friends with a lot of these guys. But my point is, when they first started me off, I told them, I never really lifted weights, and I was trying to learn, and they got me on, basically the bro split. It was like back and by, chest and try, shoulders and legs, 3 sets of 10, um, and rest at least 2 days between muscle, 2 to 3 days. It was 48 to 70, 72 hours between workouts on a certain muscle group. So if I did chest and triceps on Monday, I definitely wouldn't do it before, Wednesday, probably Thursday, you know, and I was young, I was 18, 19, and 20. I was there for quite some time, but I made a lot of gains doing that. So it works. There's something to be said for that. And I did have obviously the benefit of youth on my side. My diet, certainly, I wasn't tracking macros back then, but I was still growing, you know. Um, so, but it all it comes down to, over time, if you do it long enough, you learn in your body, you know how you feel, and I think now I'm coming to the realization that maybe I should start giving myself a little bit more rest than I have been, because I'm having these little, tweaking the elbow, tweaking the shoulder. Um, and I noticed that if I do give myself those couple of extra days, and take a day or two in between the workouts and do some active recovery, maybe on one day, just do some abs, do some stretching, work on some other things, some mobility stuff, and then come back and hit the weights and hit the weighted calisthenics, I feel much better. So, I don't think, again, we're breaking down, you're breaking down muscle tissue when you're doing resistance training. So to do it every single day, you know, to go in and hit your chest every single day, or hit your, squat every single day, or whatever, do pull-ups every single day, uh, I think that's really counterproductive, because you're not giving the muscle the chance to heal. We're the same, but we're different. We all have a different physiology. So maybe I need 2 days rest. Maybe this guy needs 3 days. Um, so it really, at the end of the day, it comes down to you knowing your own body, but there has to be some rest in between, you know. Yeah, that it does. The body has it lets us know. It lets us know. It definitely lets you know. And that's it. Like it's like everything. You become more experienced over time. You become more comfortable with your body, and your body tells you. Your body's going to talk back to you. You know, um, and when it's not happy with you, it's going to let you know. It's definitely going to let you know. Things are going to start screaming. Uh, Frank, half reps. They work. I the, you know you can. I don't care what modality, what type of training you do, how you do it. You talk about people with shorty, you say with push-ups, or shorties don't work. It's time under tension. You're putting tension, you're putting resistance against the muscles. It doesn't matter if you go all the way down, all the way up, or you stay in that middle. You're in that middle, and you're doing, the shorties. It all works. If you put enough resistance on the muscle, you're gonna cause the tears, you're gonna cause the damage, and you're gonna cause it to grow back bigger and stronger. So I think there's a place for all of it. And these ridiculous arguments, and you know what I mean? I really believe that the people that are so dogmatic and say this is the one way to do it, those are the people that really don't know anything, that haven't done it. That haven't done it. And I see it all the time. People, these stupid groups and people say, well, what's the best way to do this? I want to build my shoulders. What's the best way to do it? There will be 100 comments under that post with 100 different ways to do it. And everybody will swear that my way is the best way to do it. You're full of shit. Nobody's one way. There is no one way to do anything. There's 1,000 different ways to do it. Which gets back to my earlier point. You have to do it. You have to try it. You have to see what works for you. What's sustainable for you? What do you enjoy doing? So, and you know, again, the internet is great. It's great. You could learn so much. If you want to learn how to do brain surgery, you can go on YouTube and find a video on how to do brain surgery. So the information is there, but you have to sift through so much bullshit. And everybody believes these, you know, if you see an influencer with a million subscribers, you think this guy knows what he's talking about. And they don't. You can go on PubMed and you can go on any site and find the same studies that they're referencing in their videos, and they try to make it so nuanced and so complicated. And I can tell you, this is the way you should do it, because you know there was a study that said this. And the other thing too is I don't care what study you go on. You just talked about the half reps, right? The shorties. I promise you, I've done it. You can go on PubMed or some other, medical site and find some type of scientific study that'll tell you that full range of motion is the best way to build muscle. And then the other way, they'll say half reps are the best way to do it. I guarantee it. When it comes to diet, no matter what the diet is, high fat, best way to lose weight. Low fat, best way to lose weight. Low carb, absolute best way to lose weight. Who's right? That's why you have to be your own N of one. You have to experiment on yourself. This is the basics. It's the basics. You're going to do some type of resistance training, whether it's weights, whether you want to use rubber bands, whether you want to use body weight exercises. It doesn't matter. As far as your diet, do you want to be a vegan? Do you want to be a carnivore? Do you want a keto, Mediterranean diet, whatever? As long as it's whole food. Processed junk, that's not food. So if you think you're going to, get nutrients into your body with the standard American diet, go into a supermarket and buying, Pop-Tarts and frozen pizzas, and it's not food. As long as you're eating whole food, what type of whole food? Well, what do you like? What gets your body? And that's the other thing. You have to, how do you tell what's going on inside your body? The best way to do it is to have you, get routine blood tests, once, preferably twice a year, and see what's going on. Do you have nutrient deficiencies? That's the other one I wanted to talk about. A lot of us are deficient in things like vitamin D, which we talked about the other day, zinc, magnesium. They're all critical. They're crucial in your body for your immune health, for production of testosterone. So are you putting the right nutrients into your body? If you're eating the standard American diet, again, you guys, I can eat whatever I want, give your head a shake. You don't know what you're talking about. You can't eat whatever you want. You can for a while until that dam breaks. And then that reality is going to smack you in the face so hard. It's going to be a wake-up call. The other thing, well, not the one other thing, but another thing is your consistency. And this is probably the mental part. One mental aspect of it is your consistency. Doing a little bit 5 days a week rather than doing nothing for 5 days, and then hitting the gym for 4 hours for 1 or 2 days, and then, you know, not hitting the gym for another 3 or 4 days. I think the guy that does that little bit consistently over time, when you look way down the line, they're going to fare much better rather than an all or nothing mentality, going, one day a week and being in the gym for 3 or 4 hours and then taking off that 3 or 4 days or whatever. The consistency, I think, is going to pay off that little bit, because it builds habits. It gets you in a routine of doing that. It makes it a part, and it should be a part of your everyday life. You shouldn't wake up every day and say, like, you know, hopefully you get up every day, you take a shower, you change your underwear, you brush your teeth, whatever you do, because that's what you do. It's what you're supposed to do. And taking care of your health is what you're supposed to do. It shouldn't be an afterthought. Nah, I got this party tonight. I got to go hang out. I got to go here. So I'm not going to be able to work out. You don't wake up and say, you know what? I can't brush my teeth. I can't change my underwear. I'm not going to shower today because I got things to do. I got to go. Your health is number one. You have to make that a part of your daily routine. He's a beast, Frank, that Jesse. He's an absolute beast. I like that guy. He's real down to earth. He's a real guy. He's a real guy. Him, my friend Tim, you got Dennis, Men of Action. Like, these are the guys that you should be following. These are the guys that do it. Not these assholes, that Peter Attia guy. I don't want to get into that whole situation, but he's so full of shit. Like, when I listen to these guys, I want to take a shower. I think I mentioned earlier that Andrew Huberman, and at the end of the day, they're all selling you something. That Gary Brecka, they all come up with so many. You have to do this. I remember that Gary Brecka a while back. He had this thing. Well, you have to wake up first thing in the morning. Within 30 minutes, you have to eat 30 grams of protein, and then you have to do 30 minutes of cardio. It's such nonsense. But they try to make it so convoluted, so nuanced, that you have to listen to us. We have the key. We can tell you how to do it. These assholes these longevity guys, I'm going to teach you how to live to be 100. You're 40 years old. What do you know about living to be 100? I can go online right now. I can go onto YouTube and I can find videos of guys, just regular guys, working class guys their whole lives, and they're 95 and they're going to the gym, 100. They're still going to the YMCA every day, doing some type of exercise. They're still walking around. They still have all their marbles. That's the guy I want to talk to about living to be 100. I don't want to pay some asshole online like that Peter Attia, that deviant who was mixed up with, that whole thing. He's charging people $100,000 for some type of longevity program that he does. Everybody's a scam artist. There's basic fundamentals. Put the right food in your body most of the time. Exercise should be a part of your life. Cutting down stress. The basics. It's all right there for everybody. You have the formula. It's just a matter of doing it. But everybody's always looking out here for the hacks, the TRT, the drugs, some special way. If I pay this guy $10,000, he's going to give me the key. It's right in front of you. You have it. Yeah, you're right, Tim. And I say this all the time. I'm my own worst enemy because I tell people I don't always practice what I preach, and I'm guilty of that, and I admit it. But I think I'm going to start taking my own advice. More isn't always better. I think you should stay in the habit of doing something. Like I said, even if one day is just going out for a walk or doing some stretching, and then you get back into it. When you do your workout, you go heavy, you go hard, you know. Um, but again, we're not everybody is 100% every single day. It doesn't happen, you know. But I find that there are days, and there's a lot of days when I just don't, I'm not in the mood to do it. And I really don't feel like going to the gym. But when I get off my lazy ass and I go and do it, that's sometimes when I have my best workouts, you know. But I've had this mentality for pretty much my whole life that if I take a day off and I don't do anything, I'm regressing. And it's not the case. The rest, you grow when you rest. When you're in the gym and you're pushing yourself, that's when you're breaking things down, and it's the proper nutrients, it's the right food, it's the rest. Um, that's where you're building back. And that's why it's so important. You need the testosterone, you need the nutrients in your body. So you have to put yourself in the right environment to do it. And like I said, that doesn't mean going on YouTube and finding some idiot that's going to charge you tens or $100,000 to give you the key to living to be 100. Right? Sleep right. Cut people out of your life. Get rid of stresses. Listen, everybody's stressed. We're all exposed to these forever chemicals, but we have to minimize things as much as we can. But, at this point in my life, especially, I say it all the time when it comes to people, um, I don't need you. I want people around me that aren't gonna cause me stress, that aren't looking just to take. People that are gonna elevate you. And that's what I love about this whole YouTube thing. I've met so many good people, great people, great people. Tim's down in Florida. I'm up here in New Jersey. Believe me, we'd be spending much more time together if he was here or I was down there, because he's the type of guy I need that you want around you. Somebody that when you see, you can't not be inspired, guys. If you're watching my channel, I'm sure you know Tim, but you can't not be inspired by this guy. You can't not be inspired by a guy like, Frank just mentioned that Jesse Pollock or Dennis Bird, the Men of Action. My friend Aldo, Crusades of Motivation. All of these guys. These are just regular guys that are doing it. They have the blueprint and they're doing it. But everybody always thinks that there's some secret that it's locked away, and the only way to get it is if I go pay this guy thousands of dollars, or if I inject myself with this drug, or if I take this supplement. The supplements are in your food, and I talked the other night, obviously the food isn't what it was years ago, so there's a really good chance that a lot of us are deficient, or in a lot of some vitamins and minerals. So you want to, and that's the importance of getting your blood checked for things like that. And then you could supplement to make up for it as best you can. So we can overcome a lot of that. But it's not a secret. It's not a big secret. Well, Frank, you could build muscle doing push-ups off anything. I mean, if you're in a position where you can't get down and do a standard push-up, if you push against the wall, it's resistance, right? If I'm standing up against the wall and I'm pushing my body and I'm moving my body, that's resistance. So it doesn't matter, and if you're in a position where you can't, like I said, where you can't do it, the closer your head gets down, the more parallel you get, the closer your head gets to the floor, the harder the push is going to be. But they say if you're doing a standard push-up, you're moving, I think it was 65 to 70, 60 to 70% of your body weight, whatever. But if you do an incline push-up, say off a bench, a standard gym bench is what, 18 inches or whatever, or you do it a wall, you know, or steps. Um, the higher you are, the more vertical you are, the easier the push. And as you come down, it's going to get harder. But absolutely, absolutely. And again, Frank, resistance bands are resistance, right? So it doesn't matter if you pick up a bag of groceries that weighs 25 pounds or I pick up a metal dumbbell. It's 25 pounds. And if I do a curl with it, my body doesn't know the difference between steel, you know, or a bag of carrots, or whatever, a bag of groceries. That's 25 pounds worth of groceries. It's resistance against the body. So it doesn't matter. All of these people, you can't build muscle with calisthenics, with body weight. You can't build muscle with resistance bands. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Um, as far as the cold plunges with the testosterone, Frank, I don't remember on that. I mean, it's a stress on the body. And that's the other thing. You can read where it helps activate the immune system. It helps with inflammation in the body to directly help increase testosterone. I don't remember reading anything on that. But I mean, I enjoy the cold plunge. I feel great when I get out of it. So it's a matter of preference. No, Jeff, I didn't. I would never kick my man Aldo out. No, he's my guy. He's actually on assignment. He'll be back in a few days. He's taking care of some business, some very important business that he's been waiting to do for quite some time. I'll let him tell you about it when he gets back. But yeah, he's away. He took a trip down south. He had to take care of some really important business. So I'm hoping he'll be back in a few days, and we're definitely going to get back. I have a couple of things I have to post, and hopefully we're going to line up a few more interviews to do pretty soon. So we'll see. So that's really it, guys. At the end of the day, it's you got to stop sabotaging yourself. Stop looking for those magic pills, for the hacks. This TRT shit. Anything you put in your body, there's always going to be consequences. Always going to be ramifications. Always going to be side effects. And most guys don't want to believe it because we always want the easy way. We always want the easy way. They think that things like, I know I'm always hammering this TRT, but it's a big thing with a lot of guys. If you look at the number of prescriptions, and not even prescriptions, guys are getting it, online, taking it themselves, wherever the hell else they're getting it on the black market and just taking it. But they always think that just by doing that, I can take that, I could still live my bullshit life. And on the surface, you can, from a look standpoint, right? Because if you're ramming this stuff into your ass, if you're taking your needles, it's gonna increase the muscle protein synthesis. You're gonna have the look. You're gonna build muscle. You're gonna drop some body fat, but you're damaging your body. Alcohol is a poison. right? So I don't care how much TRT you use, it's not going to negate the damage that you're poisoning your body with the alcohol, with the food, what you're doing to your body with the stress. You're destroying your organs with all this stuff. There's ramifications with the TRT. Your body's going to stop producing it on its own. So on and on and on. So you have to take the emergency brake off if you really want to. If you really want to live a healthy life, if you really want to build muscle, and again, realistic expectation, guys. None of us are going to be stepping on the Olympia stage. And if you look at, I just saw a video of Ronnie Coleman today or yesterday. Dorian Yates. I really like Dorian Yates because I think he's a straight shooter. I think he always was, and I like listening to him. If I see him in an interview, I listen to him because he's really down to earth. But if you look at him now, he's a regular looking guy. But if you look at guys like him, and then you had a guy, guys like Ronnie Coleman that came along, who was what, 300 pounds, and these guys, they look like they were statues, like they were put together with a blowtorch. But if you look at them now, I mean, Coleman's all crippled up. He can't walk straight. He's bent over. But you still see, videos of him in the gym. But for the most part, they just look like regular guys. So you have to keep everything in perspective. If you're a guy, an average guy today, and you're walking around and you're 15% body fat, you have a little bit of muscle on your body, you could move well, you have some endurance, you're a little flexible, you got it licked. You're eating healthy 70 to 75% of the time. Even if you're on the booze, if you're keeping it in moderation, you're going to do fine. But have realistic expectations, No, he's not. Not this week anyway. I don't know what he does when he's back in Omaha, but he's not. Burnish, I'm a big proponent on creatine. I'm a big proponent on it. I think it's, I talk about it pretty often. I don't think there's any downsides to it. Helps with energy production. We talk about, lately there's a lot of it. First of all, that creatine monohydrate has been studied over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, God only knows how many studies. There's no downsides to it. You can get it from meat, from red meat, but the problem is, the suggested dosage on creatine is like 5 grams a day, which is a teaspoon. But now that they have a lot of research, they're talking about the cognitive benefits of it, like for brain health and things like that. And when they did those studies, they're talking upwards of like even 10, 15, or 20 grams a day. So there's no downside to it. So I would suggest it, but always, you're just looking for plain creatine monohydrate powder. None of these purple grape creatine drinks that would added this and added that, or creatine gummies. None of that bullshit. You just want to get plain, and it's cheap as dirt. They're practically giving it away. I don't see any downsides to it. It just seems like there's only upsides to it. So yeah, if you're working out seriously, even if you're not working out seriously, if there's any credence to any of this research they're doing lately when it comes to brain function and cognitive benefits, I don't think there's any downside to taking some creatine. But again, with the beef, in order to get that 5 grams a day, you'd have to eat over 2 pounds of steak, so it doesn't, I don't think you want to try and get it from red meat every day, because you're going to have to buy an awful lot of steak. Get yourself a can of creatine monohydrate powder, just plain. It has no taste to it. You could throw it in your coffee. You could just dry scoop it and wash it down with some water. I think you'll only get a benefit from it. Yeah, Jeff, Aldo's my guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I can't say enough about him. He's, again, along with my friend Tim, Aldo's just I met Aldo on YouTube. As a matter of fact, Aldo was the first guy that I got such a kick out of him. I saw one of his videos that I actually reached out to him and I interviewed him a few years ago when I first started. But he's a great guy. He's a great family guy. I can't say enough about it. He's my guy. You see, Frank, this is, these people with the alcohol. Some years back, they came out with this thing, and there's a substance called resveratrol. It's in the skin of the grape, right, of grapes. And they said, oh, it's, resveratrol. It's the fountain of youth. It's going to help you live forever. Wine sales went up 35% after this study came out. So basically, people said, I want to live forever, so I'm going to rot my liver out, right, and guzzle wine. No matter how you cut it, I don't care if it's wine, if it's bourbon, if it's beer, whatever it is. Alcohol is a poison. It's a neurotoxin. Neuro, nervous system, toxin, poison. And what's at the top of the nervous system? The brain. It's a poison. Your body views it as a poison. If your goal is to lose fat, it's a shut-off switch for fat loss. Because your liver, when you ingest alcohol, your liver has over 500, it takes care of 500 processes in your body. But when you ingest alcohol, it shuts down everything else, and its main goal is to get rid of the alcohol. It's a poison. No matter how you, people will try and, we all try and justify our bullshit. You know what's even healthier than drinking wine? Not drinking wine. Eating healthy, working out, and taking care of your body, and not poisoning it. Now, you can turn around and I know people are gonna say, well, so and so drinks this, and my grandmother, you lived to be 99, and she drank bourbon every day and smoked 3 packs of cigarettes. Okay, so you had an old lady with yellow lips, yellow fingertips that smelled like booze. It's not a healthy life. And for me, like I said, I started drinking alcohol when I was 14 in the schoolyard, and I was off and running from there for the next 30 years. Nothing good ever came of me with alcohol. Nothing. I was in law enforcement for 32 years. I wouldn't have had a job for 32 years if there was no such thing as alcohol and drugs. I would have been out of job. I wouldn't have been able to make a living. Oh, Aldo is here. I didn't even realize. There he is. Yeah, Bern, it is. I think, I like I said, I don't see a downside to it. 50. You're still a kid, Bern. You got a long way to go, my friend. Yeah, that's one thing with the creatine too. It's stored in your muscles, and it's just like glycogen. It's just like when you eat carbs, right? The glucose is your body turns it into glycogen. That's the storage form of glucose in your muscles, and your muscles need, for every gram of glucose or glycogen that you store in your muscles and your liver, you're storing 3 parts water. Right, so that's why when you do eat, carbs, your muscles will look a little fuller, and that's sort of the same principle behind creatine. It does cause you to store a little bit of water. I don't think it's anything that's going to hurt you though. Yeah, and that you might see that it's, some people say that you should cycle off and on it, take it for X amount of weeks, and then maybe take a week or 2 off with the creatine. It's a matter of preference. I've seen the other way too. I've seen other people, again, like I mentioned earlier in the live, I don't care what, if you find a study that says A, I guarantee I'll find another study that says B, so you have to see how you feel. But um, there's nothing, I'd rather take creatine than drink wine every day. You how many people go out and crash their cars and destroy their livers and get cirrhosis of the liver from taking creatine for 20 years? But if you get somebody that's been on booze for 20, 30, 40 years, I guarantee there's going to be issues. So, given my druthers, I'm taking creatine. I did enough damage with alcohol, and I've seen it destroy a lot of lives. And people say, and there's very few people that can do it in moderation, because it's addictive. There's very few people that can eat processed food in moderation, because everybody says that. Well, it's okay in moderation. It works on the body, it works on the mind like a drug. And that's by design. They make it that way. They make it so you can keep eating it, so you'll keep eating it, that you'll crave it all the time. So good luck having processed food in moderation. No, I tell you, Bern, I remember though, 50 was a big one for me when I hit it. I had a rough time with it. I thought it was really, the end of the world. And then I turned 60. And then I got another dose of reality. So it's all relative, guys. Bern, don't worry about turning 50. You got a long way to go. Just keep yourself. Don't buy into the bullshit that you're 50, you're supposed to be diabetic, you're supposed to be overweight, you're supposed to have high blood pressure. No, you're not. We're supposed to get old. That's a given. Nobody's going to change that. But to buy into the mainstream bullshit that just because you're 50, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, and just shrug your shoulders and say, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm 50, I'm supposed to be. No. Mm-mm. You got to show these young guys how it's done, and you can do it. You could definitely do it. All right, guys. I feel like I'm starting to ramble here. It's been a while. I'm going to cut it here. Everybody get locked in. You can do it. Take the emergency brake off. Just do the basics over and over again. And I promise you, you're going to come out on top. Cut that stress. Make sure you're sleeping. Cut the booze. Give your body a chance to recover. Eat the right stuff. Get your reps in. You got to do the training. Stop looking for the shortcuts. Make it a mindset. Make it a way of life. And you're going to do fine. All right, guys. I got to go eat. On that note, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Make sure you check out my friend Aldo, Tim Effect. Frank, appreciate you being here. Jeff, everybody. Whoever I didn't mention, I apologize. Everybody stay safe. I'll talk to you in the next one. Have a good night.